feel free to turn your camera on. I love to see faces. Don't feel pressured if your hair is a mess or maybe you haven't showered today. It's cool. I wanted to first introduce myself. My name is Robin Puttick. I am the Associate Dean of Undergraduate Studies here at Catholic University. So when you come to Catholic University, I will see you often. So that was my little pitch. When you come to Catholic, did everybody catch that? Okay. I've been teaching at Catholic this is my 5th year now, and I've taught every level of studio, and I also teach a variety of seminar courses, mostly having to do with sustainability and well-being. I'm also a practicing architect, over 20 years of experience in the DC area. I live in Virginia, but I practice in Virginia, Maryland, and DC. I specialize in sustainable civic architecture. So schools and libraries, community centers. I focus on LEED and WELL. Both are certifications that I have, and both are certifications that my buildings receive as well. So happy to chat about that later. I wanted to lay out the evening for you so you know what to expect. Tonight we're going to start off with some introductions. I'm going to introduce all these fabulous people with the red backgrounds behind us, rocking the cardinal red, Catholic University, school spirit. Then we're going to have a brief slide show where each student and one of our professors is going to talk to us about a certain topic, and I'll lay that out in a little bit. And then we'll have plenty of time for Q&A. If you want to ask any questions, just drop them in the chat, or you can also interrupt us, totally informal, or ask us the questions at the end. Whatever you feel most comfortable with. I like to say I will not hang up on this call until every last question is answered. So feel free to stick around if you have a question you just want to ask me one-on-one. We'll also be dropping our email addresses in the chat. We want to help you out with any questions that you have. So without further ado, I'd love to start off with some quick introductions, and I'll go around my screen. I wanted to start with one of our professors, Lavinia. Would you like to introduce yourselves?
Absolutely. Thank you, Robin. And hi, everybody. My name is Lavinia Fici Pasquina. Sounds like a little funny, but if my accent hasn't given me away already, I'm an Italian architect. And I've been part of this faculty for over 25 years. It's a long time. And so I came into this country with a master from Europe, and I took my second one here at the School of Architecture and Planning because of foreign programs. So with no further introduction, and we have many of us, I will pass it along. Thank you.
Excellent.
Welcome,
Thank
everybody.
you. Thank you, Lavinia. We have 2 alumni, so former students of Catholic University that wanted to come along today. Thank you so much for joining us. The first one is Sarah.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sarah. I received my bachelor's in architecture, bachelor's of science in architecture from CUA, and my master's in 2017. And I am currently practicing in the profession and living in Portland, Oregon.
Excellent.
Welcome.
Thank you, Sarah. Next up, we have Ariadne.
Hi, everyone. My name's Ariana. I went to school with Sarah. I graduated grad school at CUA in 2017 with a master's in architecture. And I also went to CUA for undergrad, received my major in architecture, and then I got a minor in art and psychology.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I love the psychology. Let's talk later. Next up, we have Evan.
Hi, everyone. I'm Evan Dietzik. I'm from New Jersey, and I graduated from undergraduate last year. And currently, I'm a grad student at CUA, and I'm going for the dual masters in architecture and net zero design.
Excellent. Thanks, Evan. Next up, we have Mara.
Hi, everyone. I apologize for my non-red background, but my name is Mara Walsh. I'm from Pennsylvania. Just like Evan, I recently received my Bachelor's of Science in Architecture this past May, and I'm now a first-year grad student here in the Master's of Architecture program.
Excellent. Thanks, Mara. Next up, we have Tim. There's another Californian on this call, Tim. Let's see if Tim can guess who it is. I'll let you introduce yourself, Tim.
Hi, I'm Tim Mazier. I'm from San Diego, and I just finished undergrad at Catholic University, and I'm a first-year grad student in the IPAL program. So I had the opportunity to work here in San Diego, and that's all.
Perfect. Yeah, we'll tell them more later, right, Tim? Yes. Okay, and last up we have Liz, who is rocking the red. It's a little sketchy. Don't feel like you have to do it if you don't want to. Liz.
Yeah, I don't think my lighting is great, but hi everyone. I just finished, my name is Liz. I just finished my master's degree at Catholic, like literally like 3 weeks ago. Studied abroad in 2018. I'm excited to talk to everyone today.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Liz. So that is the introductions, and basically we're going to jump into the slideshow presentation portion of the evening. And I wanted to start on the next slide. So the theme of tonight is, what can you expect from an architecture education at Catholic University? So I brought along a fabulous professor, some alumni, some amazing students, because if between all of us and Abby, we should be able to answer every question you possibly have. Okay, about it, everything, architecture education. But this is the 6th information session in a series. We don't want to keep doing the same thing over and over. We're architects, we're creative. So each one of these sessions has a theme. The theme tonight, I'm very excited about, it's study abroad. So everyone here tonight is going to talk about their experiences with study abroad. But certainly any question, any topic, what's the dining hall food like? Everything is fair game when we get to the Q&A. So without further ado, I will start off. Our first speaker is going to be Miss Lavinia.
Okay, you hear me, right?
Yes.
Okay, so again, hi everybody and welcome. And it is a pleasure for me to share with you our foreign programs opportunities. So as I mentioned before, I'm an Italian architect, but I'm also a tenured professor here at the School of Architecture, and a product of foreign programs, which are the reason why I applied to the school and not any other in the country when I came in here in one of my previous lives. So I was very happy because I'm a strong believer about international studies in general. And so foreign program studies are definitely one of our dual programs at the school to date. It's been a long time since I was one of their students, but it's definitely something that once I became a professor, I took over as a coordinator and then started to lead these programs. And aside, hopefully, temporarily pandemics challenges, this is still one of our dual programs. And also, I believe that a program that brings you out there, brings architects to be out there, and educators bringing along a group of experts found sometimes in the locations. It's something that is so essential, so imperative for the education of future architects. So to visit some of these locations is an amazing and life-changing matter. So these places not only function and have been inspiration for some of the most astonishing architectural worldwide work architecturally done, but helped to shape history and will help to share our future. And obviously, I know that our present represents the past future, right? So under this light, I've been organizing, coordinating, and accompanying students in several national and international expeditions, including Italy, France, Spain, England. And some of these expeditions were developed for an entire semester abroad, typically the junior year and the senior 401, so 302 401, or sometimes even teaming up with graduate students level, so creating kind of a vertical programs. That's what we say, vertical. So we have now acquired an entire building in Rome, which is a great opportunity because it's in the core of Rome, which function as the base for some of these programs, and from which we depart with additional trips for example, Florence, Milan, Venice, and other Italian destinations. Other examples, and my slide here show a few of those, are trips that have particular research theme or agenda, international collaborators, or study focus, such as the one that I ran on the island of Pantelleria, 40 miles north from Tunisia, on the Mediterranean Sea, for the design of a wine museum, for which one of our students received a substantial scholarship as a prize for being the best design. So they become very challenging too. same thing happened in Malta, same thing happened in Paris. So I would just let my ex-students and now colleague Ariadne and Sarah to talk more about that, and I will definitely take questions later. But in the interim, I hope to see you soon. I thank you one more time for your attention, and please stay safe. Thank you.
Thanks, Lavinia. Hi, everyone. Again, my name is Sarah, and I work at ZGF Architects in Portland, Oregon. And this is Ari. She works at Gensler in the Washington, D.C. office. Just to reflect on what Lavinia said, one great aspect of CUA architecture is that the school really values our path in education and fosters the importance of emerging in culture to grow as architects. CUA helped us do this by providing us with an independent study course, and we were able to travel alongside with a study abroad program and experiment with photography and capturing the spirit of the island of Pantelleria.
We joined the class for 2 weeks to document the island and support the class with our photography. Our final deliverable was to create an exhibit that would house our photography and share our experiences. The photography that we captured on the island was through the contrast of the micro scaled elements, almost invisible at first glance, versus the macro scale of the mountains and the sea. This exhibit was displayed at CUA with the students, studio projects, and now has found a home in a winery on the island, which is very exciting. Not only was this a life-changing experience for both Sarah and I, but it was an amazing portfolio piece and conversation starter that helped us both uniquely stand out when applying for jobs after our graduate studies. And we can move to the next slide, Robin, or whoever's in. Thanks.
So here we are showing some more images of both of our abroad experiences, and all of these experiences resulted in friendships in many places. We remain in touch with a lot of these people and are designing years later together. This process of design, build, and learning of different skills and trades through these experiences has really helped us excel in our profession as young architects. Due to the building experience, I was actually able to get a position in a design build firm working on building structures in the DC community. Also, my 2014 undergrad spring semester, I studied abroad in Barcelona, and this really helped me immerse in different cultures because I was there for a whole semester. This was my first time traveling to Europe. And let me tell you, it was an experience like no other. I was sketching inside Sagrada Familia, and that was considered class.
Yes, Sarah and my experience was very exciting. But also it's important to know that CUA architecture is unique in that it allows for all different types of experiences that suit your education. I have a daughter that when I was studying at CUA, she was really young. So it was really important for me that I was able to have experiences studying abroad. 2 of the programs that I attended were during the summer for 2 weeks at a time to design and build what was called the Spirit of Place. And all these experiences were amazing and created memories that will last a lifetime. I think we're good to go to the next slide.
Now we're going to pass it off to Tim.
All right. Thanks for the handoff. Like I said earlier, I finished undergrad in 2020. So I went to Rome in spring of 2019, and that was my junior year. And my favorite course during the semester in Rome was the field studies course. And during this class, we traveled throughout Italy and explored sketching and watercoloring as a way to understand how the buildings were designed and constructed. And this course was really cool because it allowed us to travel like on school trips with just the School of Architecture. So we went to places that other students that were also there with the school didn't go. And it was all covered by the travel abroad fee. And my favorite design project during the semester was the Rome charrette. And during this 3-day long project, we had the opportunity to work with an architecture student's from Rome in small groups to design a welcome center for the Colosseum. And throughout the semester, we had 3-day weekends as well as spring break, which allowed us with a lot of extra time to go travel on independent trips with our friends. And a lot of us had family or other friends that visited. And that was some of the best times as well. So that's what I valued from the study abroad program at Catholic. And next we'll hear from Liz.
Great. Hi, everyone. My name is Liz again. So in this slide, I want to highlight some of my favorite pictures and experiences. After this semester, I can definitely say that Rome is my favorite city on earth. And when we weren't studying architecture, my friends and I spent the semester wandering old churches, eating way too much pizza, and drinking cappuccinos. There's also great opportunities such as attending Easter Mass at St. Peter's given by Pope Francis and becoming friends with seminarians in Rome. Our sketching class took us to so many amazing locations, such as a weekend in Florence, art museums like the Maxi designed by Zaha Hadid, who you all probably know, as well as the Uffizi Gallery. I'd also encourage taking day trips to cities surrounding Rome, such as Assisi, to see more of Italy. At the bottom right are sketches I completed during our field studies class. Your sketching professor will definitely give you a workout from all the walking throughout Rome. Just to conclude, this was definitely the best semester of my life, and I hope you all decide to go abroad. Next, we will hear from Evan.
So just like Tim, I actually studied with Tim at the same time. Evan Dietzig, I'm a first-year grad student, as I told you before, and I had the opportunity to study abroad in the spring, my junior year, with 17 other architecture majors, and at the Rome Center, there's also 60 other students from different majors. While abroad, you have the opportunities to explore and travel. The opportunities to travel and explore are limitless. You can do almost anything you want and go anywhere you want to a certain extent. And at the Rome Center, they actually plan several trips that are included in your tuition. And these trips include trips to like Pompeii, Naples, Assisi, and a few other Italian destinations that are pretty close by, you can take by train. Another opportunity offered at the same, similarly, is some classes, they take field trips to explore Rome. And they explore the cities like Venice, Florence, Vicenza, and your professor goes with you, they buy you dinner, and it's a whole like group trip, and it's a great time. And finally, because on Fridays there were no classes, we were given the chance to travel to different countries almost every week. I was able to travel to 8 different countries and Scotland. So I had a lot of time to travel, went everywhere. And despite the traveling, we did have to go to class and learn, but class revolved around the Italian culture usually and the architecture. So in our studio, we were taught by 2 Italian architects that were from the area, and they gave projects that were actually related in Rome. So we actually took plots of land in Rome, we designed different ideas, and one was like a live work center for the citizens, and then like art and everything. It was like a lot of your choice actually. And then another class, we spent most of it walking around Rome, and we actually looked at a small percentage of the 900 churches in Rome. So you actually have a whole class looking at church architecture, which is also very different from what we have at CUA. And in one class, we actually focused on traveling, and while traveling, we sketched, and that was the whole class, and it was fantastic. And if it was not for the School of Architecture and Planning, I don't think I would have ever been able to do this. It was been a great opportunity, and it's a once in a lifetime chance. So I thank my peers and the professors at CUA for allowing me to do it.
Hi, everyone. My name is Mara again, and I'm currently a first-year graduate student in the School of Architecture and Planning at the Catholic University of America. During my undergraduate studies at CUA, I was fortunate enough to study abroad in Rome, Italy during my spring 2019 semester with both Evan and Tim. So this evening, I wanted to share a few photos from my experience. I also attached a link at the bottom left of the screen that you could see. That's a link to our travel blog website that myself and my 17 fellow classmates created our time in Rome. So all 18 of us wrote an individual post that pretty much documented the exciting events during our times in Rome, Florence, and Venice. So these handful of images, I feel like widely expressed my 4 amazing months abroad. Some of these images were taken on class trips, like both Evan and Tim mentioned, with our sketching professor Marina, and others were taken on trips with friends and family. So my time abroad is something that's still hard to fully express in words. The School of Architecture and Planning at CUA provided me with this amazing experience that has furthered my love and knowledge of architecture, and I'm forever grateful for that. So now we're going to go back to Robin for some closing words of tonight's presentation.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. Oh, I want to go to Italy. Who Who else wants to come? Thank you so much. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and we'll go back to normal Zoom. So at this point, I feel free to drop some questions in the chat. I see that some, and Abby will MC the Q&A portion of the evening.
I believe Margaret, I believe Margaret, you're referring to the link that was just shared on the screen.
By Mara.
Yes,
Yeah.
I could drop that right.
Yeah, Margaret asked just to put that in the chat.
Yep.
Perfect.
Yep.
Excellent. So while we're waiting for some questions, feel free to unmute yourself, and interrupt, but I'd love to throw out to the students, tell me your favorite experience when you're there, the funniest story, and know that there's probably some parents on these cameras as well, maybe. Who's got a story for us? Oh, everybody's shy.
I don't know if mine's really funny, but I think my favorite part of it was after spending 4 months abroad, my family came out to meet me. It was pretty awesome never being in Rome before. Just after the 4 months, I felt like a local. So I was pretty much my family's tour guide, which was nice, taking them all around to the good restaurants and all the good sites. So I really enjoyed that the most, having my family come out and just spending time with all my classmates in all these different cities. So I highly recommend.
You guys are pretty tight. I was looking at those pictures,
Yeah.
and you're all, with the exception of maybe two, everybody's at grad school now together.
Yeah, pretty much.
Y'all stayed at Catholic University. Yeah, that's wonderful. Thanks, Mara. Does anyone else have a story?
I'm just going to share. I lost 25 pounds while abroad because we walked 15 miles every day. So if you're looking for a weight loss plan, that's the way to do it. You eat pasta and walk 15 miles. And there's just so much to see in general. So it doesn't matter where you are. You can just do it anywhere.
Exactly. It's like a course in well-being, right? They got it figured out. Definitely. Thank you, Evan.
We did get a question in from Margaret asking, are student projects ever realized or I guess maybe kind of used in real life based on what you do in the classroom?
Sure. And I'd invite Lavinia, actually. Would you like to speak to this?
Yes, thank you, Robin. So I would just say that it depends on the program. We have a program that is called the Spirit of Place, Spirit of Design, and this is the design build component of our foreign programs. With these expeditions, and they happen whenever there is a donor or there is an opportunity. So, to have something built, you need somebody that is offering you to create something. So either a piece of land, which happened once to me because I sponsored an expedition of design build myself because I love this program. So I had built a little temple designed for the goddess of beauty, Venus, nearby the lake of Venus in this exotic location. But places like Kathmandu, Nepal, or Ireland, we have had an enormous amount of students, and Sarah and Ariadne have been part of one of these expeditions where we actually built in 12 days one artifact, which is usually a small meditation space, because in 12 days there's just so much you can do. But there are other programs in which is requested to design something buildable, such as the design of the Museum of Wine that we also ran in Pantelleria. So it's not designed yet, or a kiosk for UNESCO, which was an information center that had to be all the way through construction documents ready to be built, but not built yet. So there are opportunities that bring students to design all the way to construction, all the way to construction documents, or just as a competition of ideas and proposal, and all the way back to just simply have fun and sketch around, which is still a very valuable experience out there. Yes.
Yeah, thank you, Lavinia. That's perfect. And the only other thing I would offer, and I know all the students are probably looking at me because I told them I would let them answer the questions first before I jumped in. But I just wanted to share two quick things. I teach the upper level studios, and one example, we have an integrated building design studio. And last year, Liz was in my class, and we had a real world project where Montgomery County, Maryland was looking to develop for a new library. And the actual client was Montgomery County, Maryland, Department of Public Libraries. And Liz actually presented in front of the board so they could hear her ideas of what it was. So her design wasn't built per se. Similarly, in Mara's studio, when I did the Net Zero Design Studio, that was also a 4th year. That was a real world project for Arlington Public Schools. And at the end of the semester, they presented to the Arlington Public School decision makers and architects. And as they were presenting, I heard the architect lean over, like, that's pretty good idea. I might take that for my next design, you know? So there's definitely those real world applications that I just wanted to mention briefly. I see we're having other questions come in, so I'll stop talking.
So our next question comes from Jonathan, and he asks, could anyone elaborate on the process of becoming a student who studies abroad? Kind of maybe just a quick run through of the application process, funding, things like that.
Any student want to take that one?
I can take it if you want.
Sure.
Sorry. Organizing these trips is quite an enterprise, and on the side of the students, there is a lot to be requested as well. Obviously, you gotta be in good standing, no probation, no troublemaker, nothing of that sort. You also have to have a quite high GPA. You gotta be a good student. It's a first come first serve basis in terms of timing issue for the slot, because sometimes we have limited seats. So for example, 12, 15 would be our maximum. Sometimes we ran all the way to 18 in occasions that we're very particular, but it also depended on the Rome location and availability from them. So at that point, you open an application, and that application has a nominal cost, say $40 or something like that, with Global Studies, which is a department in our school. And then at that point, once you open your application, there are an enormous amount of forms you gotta fill up, but they are all very doable because they are, all the way to passport numbers, health issues, and insurance if you have checked all your marks, So it's not a very difficult thing. It's just a process to follow to make sure that your visa and international documents are ready to go. Depending on the locations, you don't need a visa, such as, for example, the Schengen, the European group, right? You don't need a visa if you stay there for 90 days. Other places, you will need a visa just to visit. So it depends on this expedition, but usually we open your application, or you open your application a year in advance. So we have plenty of time to get you prepped and ready. And following that application, you also take part of info sessions and orientation groups that will allow you to learn all about the place you're going to visit, a little bit of the culture, what you can and what you cannot do, such as running a scooter in the middle of Rome, which is pretty crazy, or stealing a van to your professor, the morning you were ready for a field trip. So things like this that are obvious, but it's a pretty easy process. In terms of fees, these things might have various different fees. You pay tuition for that semester if you go for the semester, just if you would pay tuition to stay in campus. But then there is additional fees, which are, incorporating part of the meals plans overseas, entry to the museums, and internal transportation between cities and cities when you go visit them, including obviously all the hotels and accessory. So it could be a very expensive program, but in times, for example, the one we are running right now, I am super shocked about the prices, how low and how down to the bottom they came. So I cannot give you a set number, but it depends on the program and depends on the semester. But it's pretty easy and open to everybody.
And then our next question comes from Samantha, and she asks, do we have to go on to grad school to get a job in the field?
I would refer that one to Tim. Tim, would you like to respond to that one? Do you have to go on to grad school?
So you don't have to go to grad school to get a job. But you do have to, if you want to be licensed, you have to go to grad school. most of the time. There's actually like workarounds for that too if you work like 5 years in the field under a licensed architect. But you, you don't have to go to grad school if you want to be a licensed architect. That's typically the fastest route, and that's why most of us did choose to go on to grad school. But a lot of us had internships or jobs before we did. Really, it's up to you and what you want to do and what position you want to be in.
I would just piggyback off of that, Tim. Thank you. DC is a great place to get an internship. Nation's capital, there is a lot of firms that have a local presence here. You know, Sarah and Ariadne, ZGF, Gensler, which by the way, I worked at Gensler 20 years ago. How about that? So there's a lot of firms here. So there's a good network, and a lot of the professors have a deep network as well. So like Tim says, you don't have to, but the jobs are here, and it's very able to secure a job during a summer, or like Tim said with the IPAL program. And actually, Abby, I'll steal the thunder a little bit. I see the next question that is, can anyone explain the IPAL program and what kind of student should take that path? And why I was going to jump in and field this one and not let Tim talk about it is because IPAL is under a revisiting process by NCARB right now. It's been out for about 6 or 7 years, so they're starting to see the graduates come through the process. And I actually spoke with the head of NCARB several times over the last 4 months. We're going to be tweaking our program at Catholic University. We were one of the first universities in the country to have the IPAL program. We have one of the largest programs in the country. And for those of you that don't know, it's called IPAL because it stands for the Integrated Path to Architecture Licensure. So there's 3 parts to getting your architecture license. That's getting a degree from a NAB accredited school. And that's what Tim was talking about, the graduate degree here at Catholic University, the Masters of Architecture. You also have to work for thousands of hours, no exaggeration. And then you have to pass right now what's 6 exams. If you're an IPAL student, you actually get to start taking those exams while you're in school. So that's a unique part of the program. If you're not an IPAL student, you have to wait until you graduate from a NAB accredited school to start taking those exams. So we're revisiting it right now because before we had the IPAL students rotating in and out of the curriculum, being kind of their own cohort, not really staying with their group. And we were looking at that, and we really think it's important to stay with your cohort. You guys do a lot of bonding. They're with each other all hours of the day and night and morning, right? So if we keep it to going to school in the fall and the spring and then hooking those students up with internships every summer, there is a way that you can graduate the IPAL program doing that. What kind of student should take that path? I would recommend a highly motivated student. I was a highly motivated student back in the day. I did the equivalent of the IPAL program. I was a go-getter. I sought out my own internships. I wanted a variety of internships. So I worked at Gensler. I worked at a small residential firm. I worked at a mid-sized public firm, et cetera. So if you're a go-getter and wants to be very much in charge of your destiny, I would say, the IPAL program might be for you. If you want to really just soak up Catholic University and maybe do other things, maybe you want to play rugby, maybe you want to have a double major, you know, dual engineering and architecture. That's not to say you can't be an IPAL student, but I would encourage you, and I'd love the students to chime in here. I find that the most successful and the most happy students really choose what programs at Catholic they're going to be a part of and really dedicate themselves to those specific activities. What do you say, students? Did I miss anything? Any thoughts? Good. Okay, I got a thumbs up. Excellent. Cool.
The next question kind of relates back a little bit more to the study abroad, but just wondering what time of year are the trips typically scheduled, or what are the options for students who want to go abroad?
I'm assuming I'm going to take that. Okay, so we have a typical program for the semester that has been going on for a while, which is the spring semester in Rome. And that has always been here, except for this particular year because of COVID, but it is scheduled to regular operation for the 2021. So that's good news. In addition, we have programs in the summer, which are programs that, again, varies. They're not always the same. And I can tell you, for example, this year I'm running 1 or 2 classes in Rome, and we have a program also ongoing to London. And so there is, variety of ways. The thing is, I was going to tell you how low the fees, because foreign programs for Rome, there are 3 or 4 classes available there from May 15th all the way to, I believe is August. I don't know the exact day, but for the same fee, whether you take 1 class, 2, 3, or 4, you go and you get credit. So you can take as minimum as 3 credits with a couple of $1,000 fee to a maximum of 9 or 12 credits. If you take them all with the exactly same fee, whether you eat for 2 weeks meal plan or you stay there for 2 months. So there are opportunities like this that, again, varies. This is the one for this year. And then we have the fall, which organizes when 401 students usually go. Like, for example, if we miss a year, say COVID, for example, for 401, there is for 302, sorry, there is an opportunity that this group, when they're 401, will want to still go to Rome. So we organize expeditions in the fall for them. And that's when probably vertical studios occur. So graduate and 401s come together. Nothing set in stone, but everything is so flexible when it comes to foreign programs, because we want to accommodate everybody going abroad, and we know how important it is for you. It was for me, certainly. So I just think that in a way we're trying to run every single semester, but stay tuned, because every semester might be different. You might want to do a little bit more international semester, which usually has been the fall by default, or you want to just settle in Rome for 4 months for the entire semester, and that's you going in the spring, or you want to travel a little bit more, Norway or London, and that's the summer usually. So if stay tuned. That's all I can say. I'm sure you can find something that suits you and fits you during the studies, and you're definitely gonna have a blast.
And Lavinia, I just wanted to jump in for the benefit of everyone, because sometimes we architects talk in slang, and I just wanted to make sure that everybody knew. In Catholic University, the way we name our classes, the first number is the year that you take it, and the last number is the semester. So when Lavinia says 401, that's the 4th year studio, and the 1 is the first semester. So that would be fall of your 4th year. And if you were to say 302, that's the 3rd year, 2nd semester, which would be spring. So of course, when you come to Catholic University and you take your first architecture course, first semester, freshman year, that will be 101, Architecture 101. So we talk like that all the time, Lavinia, right? We just throw these around. It's like in a construction meeting when we just throw terminology around. I just wanted to be sure everyone understood that concept. Do we have any other questions? Feel free to unmute if you have any questions. We'd love to hear them. This is a quiet group tonight. You never know what you're going to get.
Maybe everyone's still recovering from the holidays.
Maybe. These are awesome students. They can answer anything about, like dorm life. What's DC like? Oh, I see one. Sorry, you go, Abby.
Oh, I was going to say, would you describe CUA's program as more theory-based, practical-based, or a mixture of both?
That's a great question. I'm going to let the students jump in. Why don't we have all the students respond and see what they think, and then me and Lavinia will jump in. What do you guys think?
I would definitely say a mixture of both. And if you're interested in one or the other, you have the choice to go into that practice. And yeah.
That's a great answer, Sarah. Well done. What else? What do you guys think?
Liz, go ahead.
Oh, no, you can go ahead. You started talking first.
All right. Like Sarah said, definitely a mixture of both. I think the earlier courses are more theory-based. And then once you have a foundation, they become more practical. Like 4th year, one of the studios we take is IBDS. And during that studio, you have to focus on every phase of the building, how the plumbing works, how the electrical works, how the mechanical works. And so at that point, it's very practical. But even in the grad level studios, you still have the option to choose more theory-based studios. Like the one that I just took was with Julio, and it was about spiritual architecture. So it was all about designing a space based on the feeling, how you want the person to feel when they go into the space.
Liz, did you want to add?
Yeah, I was just gonna add that also when you get to a certain level, like when you're a senior, it also comes down to what professor you choose. Some professors focus more on practicality while there's more on theory. So by the time you're a senior, you pretty much have an idea of who you work well with and what professors focus on what, and then you can decide from there.
Excellent. Anyone else? Got it covered? Cool. I see some more questions.
The next question pivots a little bit from architecture, but is from Margaret asking, how are food allergies handled and do students have access to a kitchen? And I don't know if any of the students, if you had experience with food allergies and want to talk about that, because I know the more general stuff, but if you have direct experience, that'd be great.
I don't know. I personally don't have food allergies, but I know my roommate, when we went abroad, that was a big issue for her, is what will she eat and how will she eat all the food over there. But in the Rome Center, it's usually dorm style, communal style living. So you share rooms, and then some rooms have sinks in it, and then you'll have a communal bathroom. But there is an apartment in the Rome Center, which my roommate was able to have access to, and she actually lived there because it did have its own kitchen. So I know for her, that was really beneficial, and that I think really eased her stress. I don't know if anything obviously changed. I don't know a lot of the technical, but I know for her, who does have severe food allergies, she made it work for the 4 months abroad. So I think it is very doable. It's just really nailing down those initial issues.
Awesome. Thanks,
And it's
Mara.
definitely something that you let us know. We take that very seriously, obviously, and so we make sure that in the Rome Center people are aware, because anytime might be, just a little food allergy, no problem. You never know, in those restaurants what happens when you go out at night on your own. So you also have to be aware of what you do. People, might be on the light side of it. We take it very seriously. One year I had an allergic, a girl that was allergic to salty water, so no swimming in the meds, and we were going south in the Mediterranean. Strawberries, gluten, so no pasta, no bread, no nothing. Sun rays would hurt, and the south is really like there is no shade. So we had to really accommodate for issues like this, and we went through no problem. So just let us know, and we'll accommodate.
Great. And then our next.
Actually, a part of what Mara's roommate, her roommate also had not a private chef, but the CUA actually hired a private chef to help her figure out what food was actually good, in Italy. So they're very accommodating. She didn't have a problem the whole time she was there, basically. So they really took the steps forward to prevent something bad from happening. So.
Right.
Yeah.
And then our next question is, how beneficial would you say a degree in architecture is to someone who will become a general contractor?
What I would say here is, I would say it's very valuable. When you get an architecture degree, you are training yourself in problem solving, and you're also getting a sense of how to design spaces, sites and buildings, etc. And I would say it's easier to make that transition from architecture to becoming a contractor, as vice versa. If you've got a degree in building construction, to become an architect would take a lot longer. As we have talked about, you need to get an accredited degree. So if you're interested in becoming a contractor, you can always go to architecture school, get that wonderful degree in problem solving. And I'll tell you, 20 years in the profession, I love contractors. I have nothing but respect for them. I did contractor internships because as architects, we need to know how to put things together. We need to know how to build them. If we don't, we're going to lose credibility in that construction trailer in the first 5 minutes. So what a wonderful gift if you had an architecture degree and you became a contractor. You would be able to reach across that table and communicate with anyone that walks into that construction trailer door. That's my perspective from both being in academia and from being in the profession. So I think it's a wonderful degree to have. Plus, as you do that 4-year degree, you get a sense, do you want to go on and become an architect? And you can make that choice and get a master's degree in architecture. You can do a lot of interning to see what do you want to do. All the while, you can get internships at contracting offices, construction management, all these different places. And we place students in those all of the time. And I'm a big fan of that because it's a wonderful piece to your education.
Robin, I take that also sometimes as an extension, you know, of that profession into the other one. I see architects as very creative people. It's easy in the contracting world to always do that manual work and do it tediously in a way that you fall always in the same solution. And when you say problem solving, to me, that's the beautiful side of our profession, because you exercise your creativity, you find new solutions, you find new ideas, and then knowing how to put things together, then you extend that sort of knowledge to break out that box and think really out of the box to find things that has never, done before in that way. So I think that's the beneficial part. We go theoretical, but theory alone doesn't do it. That's why I always like the practical part of our profession. Just a minute after you thought about all the possible ways of doing that. So not in a tedious way, but I think of both profession in a very active way, in a way that they help each other a lot.
Agree.
And then our next question is, did any of you play a sport and study architecture? Is it doable?
I've written a lot of excuse notes for people playing soccer or other sports. So I have to say, yes.
Do we not have any athletes here on the call? Oh, okay. I usually pick one. Evan, are you an athlete? What sport?
I played, I did tracks freshman year and rowing sophomore year. So
oh, excellent.
I did it for 2 years. I didn't do it for all 4, but that's because that was my choice in the end with financials and whatnot and other reasons, but it's definitely doable. You might stay up a little later than you want, but if you're good at time management, it's not a problem at all.
I will tell you, I usually have a soccer player, a lacrosse player come to these. I try to make sure we're diverse and varied. And their answer to that question that comes up all the time is, for them, the more work you have, the more efficient you are with your time. And we all know when we have one thing that we have to do, we might wait all day and then we kind of do it. But when we have 5 things to do, we get them done. So that's the responses that I hear typically from the students that I bring along that are soccer players and lacrosse. And Lavinia, I totally agree. First day of class, they give you a note that says, this is the team that I'm on. And I will be absent from these classes because athletics override, and they get an excused absence. And I will tell you, Lavinia, I think you probably agree with me. Catholic is a wonderful place. We're a small community. All the professors love the students. We want them to succeed. We want to support them. And we will be totally willing to work with them. I've met students outside of class when I need to. I want to support them. I want them to succeed. So I have seen no problems at all. We had the #1 diving champion of the country in my IBDS group, and he did fine. I think he might have gotten an A-, but don't tell him that. Anyway, so that's my thoughts on that.
I have one thing to add. One of my friends played baseball all 4 years, and then he went to graduate school, studied architecture, and he started coaching as well. And then his thesis developed into helping the athletic program. And then he got a job working for the athletic department. So if that's your passion, you can find passion anywhere.
Excellent.
And I'm going to jump down one question only because this kind of relates to sports a little bit, but what does a dual degree workload look like, and is there time to play a sport as a dual degree student?
And I don't think I have a dual degree here. Oh, did I drop the ball on travel abroad? I just wanted people to talk about their wonderful experiences. But again, because I've run so many of these, I will tell you that what I hear from the students as well. I have one dual degree student. She's an extreme case. She plays rugby. She takes 24 credits, which is a dual load, and she's a 4.0 student. So anything is possible, okay? It's how busy do you want to be and how do you want to spend your time? And she's a wonderfully well-rounded. She does lots of clubs and organizations as well. So it's definitely possible. And I describe that as an extreme case. There's a lot of others. Actually, what's very interesting, what's happening at Catholic University in the last year or two, our dual degree students are equal to our bachelors of science in architecture. So the same number of students in our program are dual degree as our architecture alone. So it's really gaining popularity. And I think there's a bunch of reasons for that. When you're 18 years old, you might not necessarily know what you want to do for your career. And if you start Catholic University as a dual degree, you might find that you really want architecture and you might just switch to architecture only. You might find that you love engineering and want to switch to engineering only, or you might really love both and you might do both, civil engineering and architecture. And it's actually ironic, my husband is a civil engineer, so I think I can really speak to that. There's some differences, but there's a lot of overlap as well. So I think there would be time. It's how you manage your requirements. It's a 5-year program instead of 4. And a lot of your semesters would be 18 credits instead of 15 or even 12. So you're taking more classes. There's more of a demand. Frankly, depending on your frame of thought, the engineering classes are tough, you know? But then the engineers think the architecture classes are tough. So, you know, it's definitely right brain, left brain kind of thing. So definitely doable. It's a very popular program. You'd have a lot of support. I work very closely with the Associate Dean in the School of Engineering as well. We help support the students and problem solve if a scheduling conflict comes up or anything related to that. So it's very common. I hope that answers that question.
And then as a senior in high school, what can I do to prepare myself for architecture school?
Students, what do you think?
I think sketching is probably the best way you can prepare for it. I noticed when I was a freshman, the kids that did really well were the ones that knew how to sketch like right off the bat. Doesn't mean you have to be great at it. I would just start sketching just for fun and just get into it. So you're ready and kind of already have the ball rolling when you get started.
Also, tutorials, if you're computer oriented, that would be helpful because there's so much time that you can dedicate in front of a computer in a continuous way, you know, and when you start, you're loaded with a lot of software availability, and then there is really learning time that needs, you know, you to spend in front of the monitor and so many hours. So I would just say, for sanity, take a couple of them you like, 2D, 3D, and start exploring at least what the software can do, such as, you know, Revit, or maybe Revit not, but things that like SketchUp or 3D Studio Max, you know, they're like quick and immediate, one more than the other one. But start learning kind of manipulating a space in 3D, start with boxes, start just to have fun and see how far you can bring it. You will be so much better, because I can tell you something. With my years of experience, when a student comes to me and shows me the design after having talked about the idea and we are all excited about doing, the knowledge, the short knowledge of a software shows that is a software, therefore a computer blocking you from developing an idea that it's perfectly fine on paper, on a sketch, or in your mind, but your inability to perform with a computer then stops you or make you fall short of what it could have been a wonderful project. And that is only, you know, my personal advice. I love computers. The minute I grabbed a mouse in my hand, I could not give it up anymore because of software, for example, like 3D Studio Max. I love it. So, and all the Adobe Suite and so on, the manipulation of images. So I would just say the Adobe Suite, Photoshop, InDesign, Illustrator, and 3D Studio Max, for example, are things that I could never give up as an architect because they help me out so much every day of my profession. But then when you start getting into it, we will lead you through things like Revit, which is good for construction documents, or AutoCAD for, you know, creating other type of drawings and plan section and so on. So I would just say, get some software, start playing with this, have fun, just because you want to, not just because we tell you to do it. It's just at this stage, that's the time in which you have the privilege of time to just say, I want to explore this. So have fun with software, really, and see where you can bring it.
One other suggestion I have, I just dropped it in the chat, is our second session of this series was called Experiences in Architecture. So Catholic University runs a summer program, 2 weeks or 4 weeks, whichever you choose. And it's an amazing program for high school students where you really get to dip your toe in the water. What is architecture? You make physical models, you learn how to draw a line and wiggle it. You go out in the city and you sketch and you analyze, and you have conversations with the professors. You learn what they're interested in, what they're researching. You get that full perspective of what it's like to, certainly to go to Catholic University, but what's it like to be an architecture student and hang out in a building that's just for architecture students. So there's a whole thing called studio culture. And you don't have to do it by any means, but if you're curious, I would say it's an excellent program to look into. And again, I just dropped the link in the chat, so feel free to check that out.
Another thing I might add, and I got this advice from Lavinia, look in magazines and books and start pulling out things that inspire you and keep those with you, because you always want to reflect on things that you're interested in. And I wish I had that advice sooner. So thanks, Lavinia.
So funny, Sarah. I never told any of your group that I still have my Foot Locker. I have a Foot Locker metal box where I throw every single page of what I see that I like. I really felt bad at the beginning, but I start to tear, because I would have stacks of magazines that are infinite. I start tearing pages and pages and pages away. I have now an enormous amount of pages alone, but every time I see them, they never stop to inspire me. And I started pretty much my first year of moving into this country, so a few years ago, but I think it's still time for everybody to do it, because you'll be surprised how much this is going to inspire you and help you every day. So yes, unfortunately, we do not have any more. So the thing that I'm saying is, I'm now transferring to iPad reading. I subscribe to my magazines online. I still save every page. Or I create Pinterest page, or I create other pages. So in a way, whatever you do, start collating your work and be organized about that. Since day one, you might do interior, exteriors, you might do structure or creativity or whatever, or skin and bones, call it whatever you want. But I think it's very good since today you start looking at spaces that inspire you, images that inspire you, no matter what theme and what thing it is. Sometimes an image of a cup can inspire you to design, incredible things that you don't even think about. So, anything that hits your attention, just put it together.
And I know there were a few other questions that were addressed in the chat because they were fairly quick to answer. So I just wanted to kind of give out a last call for questions. Also, we do want to be mindful of everyone's time. So if you have to leave now, that's totally fine. Like Robin and I said, we're recording this, so our recording will be made available. You'll have all the information. But yeah, just kind of a quick last call for questions. But again, if you have to head out, thank you guys so much for stopping by.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
And we're happy to stick around if you want to ask them.
Yeah, there are still a few more questions that I see in here, like entering the IPEL program later. If you decide after you start architecture, definitely. I think there's always time to do so. CUA, and then CUA has a program offering discounted computers. We used to have a student account. Once you get a student account, you can get a lot of discounts in many different things with software too. So I would check this with the Center for Information Technology that we have, or technology services that we have in campus, and they can actually refer you to the correct link to get discounts. What else? Most companies usually offer discounts. Yes, exactly. Once you get your CUA account, you have access to a lot of different things. And actually free software, the entire Autodesk suite, including Revit, AutoCAD, 3D Studio Max, is free for people with a CUA account. So yeah.
I just saw a quick question from Isabella about besides drawing on paper, can an individual express their ideas through models? And I really like this question personally because I'll admit I'm not the best sketcher. So I really, when it comes to projects, I love making concept models, which could just be rough models of like printer paper or even like cardboard, like cereal boxes. Like I think all of us can attest that we use some crazy items to make models. But then the thing I love about CUA is that we have a laser cutting lab and the wood shop. So the laser cutting lab, you in AutoCAD, you make your file of whatever it is, say chipboard or basswood, and it'll cut it out. And then you just get to put it together as either a concept model, a really nice concept model, or for a final model. So that's definitely one of my favorite parts of every project is after you kind of see it on your computer and see it in 2D and 3D and renders, it's really nice to actually put it together with your own hands. And I think it's like pretty rewarding in the end. So, yeah.
Same with 3D printers. We got a lot of 3D printers as well. And we have a wonderful curator of all these spaces, Lorenzo. So if you come, you will meet him. He's wonderful, gets you through the orientation. He teaches you how to do things. And so you don't have to know any of these before coming.
And what I'll do for everyone who I haven't already emailed, if you're a repeating visitor, I've probably already emailed you a tour of our facilities of Crow. One of our students hosted it this summer. I will email you that tomorrow, as well as a couple other videos, one on sustainability, just to give you even more background information, because I know being virtual is hard. You know, we all want to be in person. We want to walk you through our amazing facilities, show you all of our amazing students and faculty. So look for an email tomorrow from me with any follow-up information if you're not a repeat attendee today. So wonderful.